Hi, everybody. This is day 1358. Sorry for coming on so late. We have been working so hard behind the scenes, and here we are at day 1358, and there's no sign of life um, of our son, Richard Halliday. And so let me go on Facebook to see if everything is going properly and that you can hear me. Okay. Okay. So, all right, everybody, good evening, and thank you for coming on this day. Um, we have, we're getting close to 4 years of collecting evidence, and we put evidence in three piles, right? Hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities. And through this time, we have, scoured different articles, uh, just trying to understand the environment that Richard found himself in, and also the environment that we, the family of Richard, wanting to get answers for Richard, have found ourselves in because of absolute, for us, it was obvious that there was a cover up going on about our son. But for the public, um, that wasn't so obvious. And the public was dealing with, the mandates, the COVID mandates, of course, the aftermath of the August 3rd, 2019 Walmart mass shooting, the taking down of, well, the retiring of Jaime Esparza as a district attorney there, who had been there for decades, right? Decades. And now he's leaving. And then the election, bringing in the first female district attorney, Yvonne Rosales. Um, and then everything being so chaotic, right? Um, and who knows what to believe. Uh, and then all of a sudden you had the appointment, supposedly a recess appointment by Governor Greg Abbott of Bill Hicks. And, everyone's like, okay, maybe now we're going to get some order back in the district attorney's office, maybe order in our community. But, so we, the family of Richard, is looking, learning how the system works and realizing that the district attorney is not helping us, is not doing anything for us, especially after we reported all of the retaliation that we were receiving and harassment, and then finding out about Nadal Baim and all this information. You would think that the district attorney would reach out to us, especially Richard being designated and memorialized as the first Vanessa Guillen absent soldier. And this is really important because what happened to Vanessa Guillen is so horrific. And for Richard to receive that designation, it is, a sign, a reminder that our law enforcement community cannot be complacent, cannot be sloppy. They have to look into things and care about things, because look at what happened to Vanessa Guillen. Look at what happened to these other soldiers during that time. And, so it's very, very clear that District Attorney's Bill Hicks' response to us was also irregular. It was not right. There was something fishy. there was something strange. And that in itself was evidence and has been evidence. And we have confirmation now that he even blocked our emails. So not only are they um, putting in some kind of movement, legal movement, in with Ken Paxton, the Attorney General for Texas, to not give us the open records that we seek, these, to complete this, because we have received some and they were so damning to him, right? And I'm about to tell you why. And but to say, look, I don't want to give them this. I don't want to give them money that this has all cost, because we wanted the money that they charged the American taxpayers for the Walmart mass shooting and for Richard's case. Where is that amount? And intelligence gave us a ballpark figure on and it's millions of dollars on both cases. And so we would like to see that. But that office at 34th Judicial District in El Paso, they rather petition, or it's called something else, the Attorney General of Texas, to not give us that. And it's all right, because they work for us. They work for us. Of course they have to give us these open records. And especially the cost of everything. So this environment that we found ourselves in, and tonight I'll talk specifically about the district attorney, because what we have found out about that and the lack of any help when it comes to justice for our son's case, is very, very important, because Bill Hicks holds one of the most powerful and important positions in the El Paso area. The 34th Judicial District Attorney is a very powerful position, and they're the ones that can make or break the crime, because if they're letting murderers walk, or if they're very easygoing with the penalties that the murderers receive in these capital murder cases, if they just keep them in pieces, like the Walmart mass shooting, for 5 years. So, what's going to stop other people for doing mass shootings, right? Because it's not getting tried. And you can say, oh, it happened in the federal case. Well, the federal case is very interesting, because they said in their remarks were that there were problems with the case. There were problems with it, and they could not give Patrick Crusius the death penalty. Okay? So why not? Why not? You have a baby with broken bones, and that is now an orphan. An orphan because his parents were killed. You have 21 others that were killed. You have 22 others that were injured. Why not? What kind of problems? What the feds? What kind of problems were they talking about? And so, if there's problems in the Walmart case and there's irregularities, right? Then there are and Richard's case is tied to the Walmart case, then there must be problems with Richard's case, and there must be irregularities. And so what problems are those? And that's why we scoured through these articles and evidence and open records And and we're not a big office, right? We're not a big office. That's why things take longer. We're just a family at home, uh, thinking, what can we do? Where is our son? Absolutely, we believe absolutely certain people murdered him, right? We absolutely believe that because of what we have gone through, and what the hard evidence, the circumstantial evidence, and the irregularities are telling us. But we have to prove that. We have to not even prove that. We have to submit that to the public so that the public also sees the environment and understands that they are also um, being shafted and find themselves in the same kind of environment that may endanger their families, and ask those same questions and understand the situation that we have found ourselves in. And so, of course, we are going to look at the district attorney, Bill Hicks. It doesn't matter which party he belongs to, doesn't matter. You have to just say, who is this guy that is so full of irregularities? Who is he? And when you uh, uncover him, right? When you uncover him, it's not a pretty sight. It's not pretty at all. He does not have a good record. He did not even submit taxes for 2 years. He didn't pass his bar the first time. And then we found Reyes Mata's article. And Reyes Mata's article, and of course, Loretta Lynn Hewitt. How can you forget her name, right? Loretta Lynn Hewitt, who pointed her finger at the problems. And then you understand what the federal court was also seeing. And then you find out that the federal court depends on the chief medical examiner for forensics. They don't have their own chief medical examiner for forensics. They depend on the state case, the state chief for that district, for that county, that chief El Paso medical examiner for the forensics. And if there's problems with that, and the Walmart case is left in pieces, and Loretta Lynn is like, they're keeping me from parts of this case, they're leaving it in pieces, and then these other cases have problems, and how they defend themselves. Bill Hicks couldn't even defend himself against Reyes Mata. There was no good excuse at all. And that was also very strange. Another irregularity. Okay, he can't even defend himself. And now that we have confirmation that multiple investigations are going on, looking into Bill Hicks, we're starting to understand what is going on. And what is going on is he's illegitimate. He's an illegitimate district attorney. And, when you understand that and you read Reyes Mata, what he uncovered, and this is, and do your own research, this is what you find out. Number one, our open records clearly show Bill Hicks being up to no good, right, with Justin Underwood, who is Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia's attorney, and also Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, who is owned by El Paso Community Foundation. So those three are up to no good, right? And Yvonne Rosales is investigating El Paso Community Foundation, right, for the way they're giving out all of the donation money that was supposed to go to the Walmart victims. and even public funds from the office of the governor was included in that money, millions of dollars, right? Uh, and so we know that. But they put in Bill Hicks. Why? And how did they put in Bill Hicks? He's up to no good. And they put in the petition to take down, to remove a duly elected DA. And then when the legislature branch was not in session, Greg Abbott appointed Bill Hicks. Now, why is that important? It's important because his record is not able to stand against scrutiny. Okay, his record is a very weak record, and if the Senate has to go and meet with him and look at his record to determine if they can approve him as a district attorney, I don't think that he would get through that stage and make it as district attorney, because his record is just, I mean, how can you appoint a district attorney that is representing purchase funeral homes? How can you appoint a person to district attorney that is not filing his taxes, that is not passing the bar the first time? There's many lawyers that are really good lawyers that would surpass him easily, because of his conflicts of interest, because of his disobeying the law, because of, and I shouldn't even say disobeying the law, but not being compliant. And, and this not being compliant becomes a real problem for him. Not only is he not compliant and filing his taxes, but he's not compliant when it comes to being duly appointed as district attorney. And this is really important to Richard's case, because as the parents of Richard Halliday, just like the military has an obligation to care for our son, right? And to answer our questions, which they have betrayed us. The district attorney also has to comply with the requirements of the office to make it a legitimate office, because that's our safety from the Texas Constitution. That's the safety of that office, to have the best people in that office doing the best job and identifying crime, documenting crime, and prosecuting crime. And we have the absolute right to expect from the district attorney, from the 34th Judicial District, that they will identify the crime in our son's case, that they will document the crime, and then they will prosecute the crime. And if that district attorney is not legitimate, then, we don't have justice for our son. So this is very, very important. Very important. And we have found out that, sure enough, because we think that the motive for not signing his statement of officer, which is the anti-bribery statement, right when he was appointed, was because he had conflicts of interest with Purchase Funeral Homes. Because Purchase Funeral Homes is a witness in the Walmart mass shooting case. And how can you have these conflicts of interest when you know the finances and everything involved in the witness. It's just a conflict of interest, and who knows why he couldn't sign the anti-bribery statement, right? But that office, the statement of officer, was not signed. And so let me put the timetable up a little bit. He was appointed when the Texas legislator was not in session. That means that he did not have to go through the scrutiny of the Senate. He failed to sign his anti-bribery statement, which is called the Statement of Officer, which is required by the Texas Constitution. Before you take your oath of office, you need to say that you were not bribed by anybody to do certain things to get, normally it's an elected position, so you weren't bribed in order to be elected into that position. That's why it needs to be signed before you take your oath of office. And that is a safety from the Texas Constitution. He did not do that. He failed to do that. He failed to comply with the requirements of the office. He took his oath of office anyway, without signing the statement of officer, and he took that oath of office, and a month later, more than a month later, the Secretary of the State in Austin, Texas, calls him up and says, hey, Bill, your documents aren't right. We don't have the statement of officer. What's going on? Well, he signs the statement of officer and gives it to the Secretary of State. But the problem, as I understand it, is now the legislator is in session. Now he can take the oath of office, right, properly, but only if he goes through the scrutiny of the Senate. This is the problem. He now has to go through being looked at. So what do they do? What does he do? He tampers with that officer of the statement of officer, the anti-bribery statement. He messes with the timestamp. He backdates it. He backdates it to before the legislative session began. Okay? And so this, so I guess you can have a little cushion, right? A little cushion, I guess, because he didn't backdate it before he took the oath of office. He backdated it before the session began. And so that he would be an out of session appointee. An out of session appointee instead of an in session appointee. And that's a big difference, because an out of session appointee doesn't need to be scrutinized. You can bring in the likes of Bill Hicks, whereas during session, the appointees are scrutinized, and so I think you would get better appointees, right? So that's really, really important, because now we know through Reyes Mata's article, through the many investigations that are going on right now with Bill Hicks, that he is illegitimate. He's an illegitimate DA. And that explains um, the problems with the Walmart case, the problems with Richard's case, the problems with so many of these capital murder cases. And because he's under investigation, he's coming out with some puff pieces in the media to try to hypnotize, Google Eye, the public and fool them and be like a Danae Katzen. He's doing a Danae, a DC. He's pulling a DC, a Danae Katzen, a Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia on the public, a con job, a con artist, committing a fraud against a public by, trying to divert attention and say, oh, look at these capital murder cases that, we're really going to get them. And, first he started with that they get life imprisonment, right? Well, wait a minute. Why didn't the Fed give Patrick Crusius the death penalty? Because they had to depend on the forensics of Mario Raskin Ortiz, right? Who also has a problem of complying to the requirements of his position. So you have two of the most powerful positions, the DA and the chief medical examiner, having problems with complying with the requirements of their position, botching capital murder cases, like the Walmart case, like in our son's case, which we believe is a capital murder case, and other cases. And so because we have confirmation that even the situation with Mario Raskin Ortiz is being now investigated, along with Bill Hicks, that's being looked at. Now Bill Hicks is under pressure to prove that he can have a capital murder case that gets the death penalty, right? Which is so sloppy, because what if these people legitimately don't deserve the death penalty, right? So justice becomes politicized, and he's trying to save his skin because he wasn't doing the right thing. So instead of doing his job with these cases, he's trying to save his skin. And what does he do? He picks a case of 1991, which is, it's like, why did he do that? Because Mario Raskin Ortiz was appointed in 2014. Couldn't he find a case in 2013? No, he goes back to 1991, right? So he's trying to pull a fast one on us, and we need to look at what that case is all about. Make sure that an innocent, someone that didn't do the crime to get the death penalty is given the death penalty now, because this is becoming very politicized. And what we want is justice for our son. What we want is justice for the Walmart victims. What we want is justice for Glendon Oakley Jr., justice for Asia Graham. That's what we want. So, justice for Vanessa Guillen, justice for Gregory Morales, who, still, they have not found his murderers. Right? I just read that. Gregory Weddle Morales. So I think we need to listen to Loretta Lynn Hewitt. I think Loretta Lynn Hewitt had it right. Sorry, let me get a drink. So, what am I saying here? I'm saying that we're trying to get justice for Richard, whichever way it goes. And we've said that from the very beginning, right? And what we have found is all evidence is pointing that this is a capital murder case, that Richard was murdered, and that the DA has a responsibility to identify the crime, the criminals, document it, and prosecute it. They have that job to do that. And they didn't. And they didn't even bother wanting to call us. And now we're finding out that the DA and the chief medical examiner, which we have these intelligence death certificates, autopsies for, have not complied with the requirements of their office. And it's not like they're bakers or candlestick makers. And I don't want to belittle any baker or candlestick, because, you have to be really good to be a baker, right? A candlestick maker, very talented to do that job right. But this is district attorney. This is capital. No bakers can do their job. No, nobody having a small business can do their job if you are surrounded by criminals, if you're surrounded by murderers, if you're surrounded by thugs that want to bully you and harass you and harm you. Okay? So being the district attorney is very important, and being the chief medical examiner is very important. And those are two of the most important jobs in that El Paso, to make it a place you would want to live. And both of those positions have not complied with the requirements that is stated in the Texas Constitution, created for our safety, for our good, and they're not complying with that. Not only that, they're harming. This is why I believe this is why the federal case for the Walmart case said there's problems. There's problems because they had to rely on Mario Raskin Ortiz, who's not even an American citizen. He's botched the case. And they didn't want to see Patrick Crucius just walk. And they have Judge Madrano not even issuing a scheduled mental health evaluation for Patrick Crucius. There are problems with the case. And how deep does it go? What's going on with the forensics? What happened with the deceased remains? What are the cause of death? When did they die? These are huge questions that need to be answered. And then with Richard's case, where did they find his remains? In what condition did they find his remains? How many different places did they find his remains? What was the cause of death? This is the medical examiner is the key witness for any capital murder case. They're the key witness for that. And now we have the one that's supposed to prosecute and the key witness, both botching capital murder cases because they don't even comply with the requirements of their position. Now, that is something that the news should cover. And who's covering it? Richard's mom on a late night It's almost 1 o'clock here. Burning the midnight oil. Burning the midnight oil almost every night to figure out what the heck is going on. With very little means from, a desktop. That's who's covering this case. That two major players that keep El Paso and the surrounding area and into Mexico and our volunteer sons and daughters to keep to law enforce, right? To law enforce are botched, are committing fraud. I mean, the reports we're getting is that Mario Raskin Ortiz is committing immigration fraud because of his questionable visa and not even complying. And then you have Bill Hicks tampering with timestamps, the very foundation of the Department of Justice, the very foundation of any justice system. He's tampering with what a fraud. And don't forget, he is committing fraud against the federal courts because the federal courts depend on the state courts for the forensics. I think this is worthy of some hello news people out there. Hello. Where is New York Times on this? This is, and it's international because don't forget, you have Richard being a binational case, right? And Interpol proved that. ATF proved that. DHS proved that. FBI proved that. The general proved that with the PAO, proved that. The DES proved that Richard is a binational case. And there would be no Interpol involved if it wasn't. And then Alexander Gerhard Hoffmann wrote is also, he's a German national. And then you have those from Mexico that were the victims. And I'm going to learn all these victims by name by heart. Those that were from Mexico visiting the United States, wanting to spend their money over here with shopping and everything like that, and they get shot and killed in our shops because we have a problem. And I just, yeah, we have a problem. Because we have the Texas Constitution, we have the American Constitution that we can follow that can help restrain the criminal activity by foreign and domestic enemies, by the government itself, because the constitutions are meant to keep in line the government officials, the government, so that they don't get too big for their britches and start acting like tyrants. That's why the Constitution is our protection, is our safety. It gives us our rights. It limits their rights. And, it has requirements for those positions. And if they're so willing to break and violate the requirements of their position, then what else are they breaking? And this is why we have 85,000 unaccounted for children, missing children in 2 years. This is why we have over 300 murders this year alone in Juarez. This is why we have the crime that's going on in El Paso right now. That's so bad. And this is why we can't get the system to start rolling in, grinding in the justice, because you have an illegitimate district attorney for the 34th Judicial District. And you have a botched, and this explains Veronica Escobar, because she was the judge that was presiding over the appointment of Mario Raskin Ortiz, and that needs to be scrutinized, because what are the conflicts of interest there that she would allow someone with a questionable visa problems, with not strong forensics credentials, to be placed, not to violate the Texas Constitution because he's not even an American citizen, to get that position and earn way over $400,000 a year, and botch not only state cases but federal cases. Was he the reason why the federal case closed it up so quick and just, gave Patrick Crucius 1,000 years? I mean, that's all they could do. I mean, it was kind of insane, wasn't it? Oh, we'll just give him 1,000 years in prison or whatever. It's that'll make the people happy, and they won't look into this botch thing, or did they know about it? So it's they know about it now. That's what I'm saying. They know about it now because we have confirmation that they know about it now. And this is okay. So what's going to happen, right? I get asked, Pat, ma'am, are you going to get justice for your son? Right? When are you going to get justice for your son? How long can you do this? I'm like, what's the alternative? You got to keep going until the people understand this situation. And, day 60, people might not think that Richard was brutally murdered and dismembered after being a whistleblower and being retaliated against. But on day 1,358, they might say, oh, you know what? That mom might be telling the truth, because where's Richard? There's no sign of life. Where's Richard? And why is she doing this for 1,300 more days, right? Wow. This is costly. This is costly with everything. Maybe she's telling the truth. Maybe we need to look at the evidence. Maybe that Team Find Richard Halliday has discovered something. Maybe our government is paying an illegitimate district attorney that is botching our capital murder cases. That is, creating a criminal society because we can't get crimes prosecuted. And maybe Veronica Escobar isn't so good after all. Maybe she is up to no good. Maybe the Army is up to, Major General Eisenhower and Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and Lieutenant General Donna Martin. Maybe they are up to no good. Maybe our Congress is up to no good. That William Timmons, maybe he's up to no good. So maybe, and so once people start saying, okay, uh, I think Team Farm Richard Halliday is telling the truth, and now that's going to hurt my family. I'm paying for that. I'm paying for that. I don't want to pay for that. And that's when we get justice, you see. That's when we start getting justice, is when people understand and the evidence speaks for itself. Because when you look at the video of Richard being framed, you're talking about midnight. It starts at midnight. And he looks great. He looks so good. And he's so compliant and he's so respectful. And, I don't know if the video of Jesus Melendez was released, but I have the video of Jesus Melendez. Was that released? Because he has a conflict of interest with the Walmart case, with Raul Melendez, the son-in-law of David Johnson. So, yeah. Richard looked really great. The law, he was 20 years old there, and there was no breathalyzer. They had no probable cause. They could not arrest him. They could not arrest him legally. So if there's problems with the DA, if there's problems with the chief medical examiner, if there and we're getting word he's double dipping over in Mexico, but and if he's doing that and there are problems with police framing whistleblowers, we need to get to the bottom of it. And so the alternative is not to stop until we get to the bottom of it. That's it. We're not going to stop. And because every federal case that involves El Paso will be botched. And I'm talking about capital murder cases. And every capital murder case there in El Paso will be botched. And I think more. But we need to talk to some legal minds on that. So I think this is very, very important. And I'm sorry that I'm coming on so late, but this is what it takes to do all the research. And we just have to burn the midnight oil and go into the night, into the early mornings, to bring you this broadcast, this breaking news that right now I don't think there's, well, Reyes Mata did report on it already. But this, I believe, is national news. So please share, please comment, please like. Thank you so much. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on and praying for justice. And we do, things are being shaken up. Do I have a timetable? I don't. I am just going to move forward and keep researching. And we did get the letter this week from the Department of Justice. It's ended. The cover-up. So we'll see. we'll see if they really mean it. Because remember when we applied for the Department of Justice way at the very, very beginning, they denied us. Well, it's not the case this time. And now we'll see. So here we are. And I'm really hoping, I'm really praying that, this will move forward and the real perpetrators will be arrested. And yeah, the criminals will be identified, it will be documented, and we will have accountability. And we need to have a new medical examiner because this is a capital murder case. And in my opinion, the death penalty needs to be on the table. On the table. So that lethal injection, that needs to be on the table. So, thank you so much. Please share and comment and like. Thank you. God bless.